And I thank you very much, Mr. President and dear colleagues.
I thank the permanent observer of the observer state of Palestine for the statement and for the kind words addressed to my delegation as well as to delegations of outgoing members. I now give the floor to the representative of Israel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to thank Mr. Alakbarov for his briefing and his work on the ground. On Sunday, the 14th of December, the first night of Hanukkah, a terrorist attack took place at the iconic Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia. At 6:47 p.m. local time, two terrorists opened fire on Jewish people gathered to celebrate. Among the victims were a rabbi, a 10-year-old child, a Holocaust survivor. 3 generations targeted by the same hatred and terror. Those killed also included an 82-year-old woman from Slovakia and a 27-year-old Jewish engineer from France. This grief does not belong to one community or one country alone. It reaches into nations represented in this chamber today. It reminds us that hatred and terror, once unleashed, do not stop at borders. In the midst of that horror, there was also courage. A Muslim, father of 2, Ahmad al-Ahmad, rushed forward, stopped one of the terrorists and wrestled the weapon from his hands. His actions saved lives. They showed what moral courage looks like when it matters most. This attack did not come out of nowhere. From the steps of the Opera House to the arches of the Harbor Bridge, incitement was visible. Hate was normalized. Inflammatory slogans were dismissed. When calls to globalize the Intifada are shouted openly, also here in the city of New York, when hate speech is tolerated and when lies and media distortion are allowed to prevail, violence does not stay theoretical. Jew hatred festers. Extremists are emboldened. Let this attack be a wake-up call, not just for Australia and its government, but for every country represented here. When words of hate are left unchecked, terror does not retreat, it advances. Israel remains committed to confronting terror wherever it appears. We will not look away, we will not be silent, we are not afraid. We stand with the Australian Jewish community and all those who refuse to accept hatred, lies, and violence as the new normal. Hanukkah is a festival of light. It reminds us that even a small light can push back great darkness. We will never dim our light. Mr. President, as the year draws to a close, people around the world begin to reflect. They take stock of what worked, what failed, and what they want to do differently in the year ahead. That is why at this time of year, people set New Year's resolutions, not just to declare intention, but to change outcomes. That is the spirit in which Israel comes before this council today. Looking back over the past year, it is clear what worked for our region and what did not. What worked was a decisive leadership and moral clarity shown by Israel and its allies, especially the United States. Sustained diplomatic and military pressure delivered real ceasefires and created leverage for change. What did not work was hypocrisy and imbalance. Obsessive debates over Israel's right to defend itself here in the Security Council. Political theater in the General Assembly. The weaponization of the ICC and the ICJ did not advance peace or improve humanitarian outcomes. Across our region and beyond it, the lesson is clear. Anti-Semitic hate fuels terror and terror spreads when it is excused. So today, Israel is putting forward 5 New Year's resolutions for the Security Council to support a new regional reality. No terror, greater accountability, and deeper cooperation across the Middle East. The first resolution takes us to Gaza. Two things must happen immediately. First, the last fallen hostage in Hamas captivity, Ran Gvili, must be returned. Second, Hamas must be disarmed. 2025 saw Israel achieve what many said was impossible. All living hostages are home now for Hanukkah. Many of our fallen hostages have been returned and given the dignity of a proper burial, but our struggle is not over. Hamas continues to hold the remains of one fallen hostage, Sergeant Major Ran Gvili. Last week, I met with his family in Israel. I saw their pain, but I also saw their strength and resilience. They are not asking for statements or sympathy. They are asking for dignity, for their son to be returned home for a proper burial. The reality is this: we know, we have the intel, that Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad, they know where Ran Gvili's remains are, and we showed it to the mediators. They can recover and return them. They deliberately choose not to. They choose to violate the ceasefire. This council itself has recognized the path forward when it endorsed President Trump's peace plan. But progress cannot be made while Ran Gvili remains in Gaza. It cannot move forward while Hamas remains armed. There is no future to Gaza while a terrorist organization controls it. You cannot rebuild a society while terror dictates daily life. This is not just an Israeli demand. It is a regional necessity. Hamas must be disarmed fully and permanently. From Gaza to Lebanon. I know many of you visited Lebanon a few weeks ago. You met officials there. But the pattern is the same: terror-armed, terror-funded, and terror-protected. Resolution 2 confronts the source, Iranian-backed terror. We see it in Lebanon, where Hezbollah's weapons are not defensive. They are supplied, trained, and directed by Iran. And in Lebanon, you spoke with the leadership. Lebanon lives with a contradiction: a government that seeks stability while a terrorist militia operates with impunity. Israel does not seek conflict with Lebanon. We seek a different future. Recent engagement between Israeli and Lebanese officials shows what becomes possible when Hezbollah is weakened: economic cooperation and growth. But as long as Hezbollah remains armed, Lebanon cannot prosper. Ceasefire commitments must be honored. UN resolutions must be enforced. Dismantling Hezbollah's terror network is not about Israel. It is about Lebanon, its territory, its people, and its future. Hamas and Hezbollah are terrorist organizations. This council cannot tackle terror while refusing to name it. Designation is not symbolic. It is a prerequisite for peace. So I hope that now it is about time in 2026 for the Security Council to do what it has so far failed to do and formally designate Hamas and Hezbollah as terrorist organizations. We have seen the cost of delay. The result is bloodshed. This council must confront terror and radicalization wherever they appear, from Bondi Beach to Beirut to Gaza. That brings us to Resolution 3, the PA, the Palestinian Authority in Judea and Samaria, and the reforms it can no longer delay. Over the past year, Israel has presented this council with clear evidence that the PA is not doing what it needs to do. It has failed to crack down on terror. It has not held elections, I think, in more than 20 years. It continues to incentivize and glorify violence instead of stopping it. You cannot build peace while paying for violence. You cannot fight terror while teaching hate. This council should be clear about its expectations and firm in enforcing them. That is also true in Syria, the subject of our fourth New Year's resolution. Syria stands at a moment of choice. President al-Shara promises a new future for Syria, but this council has learned that words alone are not enough. Legitimacy must be earned through actions. If Syria's leadership seeks acceptance, it must break clearly from the repression that stained its past. That means removing radical and extremist elements from positions of power, ending persecution, and protecting minorities. Our final New Year's resolution looks into the future of the region as a whole and the great hopes we have for it. The Abraham Accords prove that when countries choose pragmatism over rejectionism, the results are real. Normalization brought cooperation in trade, technology, agriculture, and security. The international community should encourage further normalization, deepen existing partnerships, support regional frameworks that reward cooperation rather than extremism. Mr. President, the 5 New Year's resolutions I have set out today are about a different future for our region, a future where terror is confronted, not excused, where anti-Semitic hatred is challenged, not tolerated. Distinguished members, as the New Year approaches, people everywhere think about their New Year's resolution. What worked, what failed, what must change. Our New Year's resolutions for the Security Council in 2026 are clear. Hamas disarmed in Gaza, Iranian-backed terrorist proxies dismantled, a Palestinian Authority that stops rewarding terror, a Syria that protects its people, and a Middle East defined by cooperation and peace. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of Israel for the statement. There are no more names inscribed on the list of speakers. I will now invite Council members to informal consultations to continue our discussion on the subject. The meeting is adjourned.